Self-doubt does not scream. It whispers. It does not break your bones. It bends your confidence. It does not steal your dreams in one moment. It slowly convinces you that you are not worthy of them. And that is why it is dangerous, not because it is loud, but because it is quiet. There are dreams that die not because they were impossible, but because someone believed they were. There are talents buried not because they lacked ability, but because they lacked belief. And maybe, just maybe, you are standing at that edge right now, not because you cannot succeed, but because you are doubting whether you can. No one is born doubting themselves. Watch a child. They try to walk, they fall, they laugh, they try again. They do not say, "I am not made for walking." They do not question their potential. So when did you start questioning yours? Maybe it was the first time someone laughed at your idea. Maybe it was the teacher who said, "You're not leadership material." Maybe it was the exam you failed. Maybe it was the relationship that ended. Maybe it was the comparison. Comparison, the silent poison. Scrolling through perfect lives, watching other people win, seeing someone younger succeed faster, and suddenly your mind says, maybe I'm not good enough. That one sentence, that one lie has destroyed more dreams than failure ever could. Self-doubt is expensive. It costs opportunities. It costs growth. It costs courage. But the most dangerous thing it costs is time. Time you never get back. How many times have you stayed silent in a room because you thought your opinion wasn't valuable? How many times did you not apply because you assumed you wouldn't get selected? How many dreams are sitting inside you, waiting for permission you refuse to give? Self-doubt does not protect you from failure. It guarantees regret. Failure teaches. Self-doubt paralyzes. Failure strengthens. Self-doubt weakens. Failure says, try again. Self-doubt says, don't try at all. And the tragedy, most people think self-doubt is humility. It is not humility. It is fear disguised as logic. Every dream has two voices around it, the voice of possibility and the voice of fear. Possibility says, what if this works? Fear says, what if you embarrass yourself? Possibility says, you have something unique. Fear says, others are better. Possibility says, you can learn. Fear says, you're too late. Here is the truth. Both voices will always exist. The difference between the successful and the stagnant is not the absence of fear, it is the decision of which voice to follow. One of the biggest roots of self-doubt is timing. I should be further by now. I'm too old. I'm too young. I started too late. Let me tell you something powerful. You are not behind. You are on your timeline. Dreams are not microwaved. They are cultivated. Some people bloom at 20, some at 40, some at 60. But blooming late does not mean blooming less. The oak tree takes years to grow, but when it stands strong. Stop measuring your progress with someone else's clock. Your journey is not a race. It is a construction site, and construction takes time. Here's something most people don't realize. Self-doubt often appears right before growth, right before the next level, right before the breakthrough. Because growth requires identity change, and identity change feels uncomfortable. When you are about to become more, your old self feels threatened. So your mind says, stay small, it's safer. But safe is not the same as fulfilled. Comfort is not the same as success, and security is not the same as destiny. When you play small to avoid criticism, you also avoid greatness. When you lower your goals to avoid disappointment, you also lower your potential. When you hide your talent to avoid judgment, you also hide your impact. The world does not need a smaller version of you. It needs the bold one, the trying one, the imperfect but courageous one, the one who shows up despite doubt. Because courage is not the absence of fear. It is action despite it. If your mind says, "You can't do this," respond with evidence. Have you learned before? Yes. Have you survived hard times before? Yes. Have you improved at anything in your life? Yes. Then why assume you cannot improve again? Self-doubt ignores your history of resilience. You are not starting from zero. You are starting from experience. Dreams do not respond to wishful thinking. They respond to commitment. At some point, you must decide, I may doubt myself, but I will move anyway. That decision changes everything. Because motion creates clarity, action builds confidence. You do not gain confidence before starting. You gain confidence by starting. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself 20 years from now, older, wiser, looking back. What will hurt more, trying and failing or never trying at all? Regret is heavier than failure. Failure fades. Regret echoes. Do not let future you resent present you for surrendering too soon. You have survived days you thought you wouldn't. You have endured pain that could have broken you. You have adapted, learned, grown, and you still question your strength. Listen carefully. The fact that you are still here means you are stronger than your doubt. Your dreams were given to you for a reason. They were not accidents. They are invitations. Invitations to grow. Invitations to stretch. Invitations to become. Stop waiting to feel ready. Stop waiting for perfect confidence. Stop waiting for silence in your mind. Move with the doubt. Build with the doubt. Rise with the doubt. Because self-doubt only wins when you obey it, and your dreams only live when you protect them. Protect them fiercely. Protect them daily. Protect them from comparison. Protect them from criticism. Protect them from your own insecurity. Stop self-doubt before it destroys your dreams, because you are capable of more than your fear will ever admit. Self-doubt is a prison with no bars. You can walk, you can talk, you can function, but inside, you feel trapped. Trapped by thoughts like, what if I fail? What will people think? I'm not as talented as them. Maybe I'm not meant for this. And here's the cruel part. No one else sees this prison. From the outside, you look fine, but internally, you are negotiating with fear every single day. And the longer you stay inside that prison, the more normal it feels. You begin to confuse limitation with identity. You don't say, I feel doubt. You say, I am not capable. And that shift is dangerous. Because feelings pass, but identities shape destinies. Self-doubt usually hides behind 3 words: not good enough, not smart enough, not confident enough, not experienced enough, not ready enough, not strong enough. But ask yourself this: who defined enough? Who created that invisible measurement? Was it society, social media, a teacher, a past mistake? Most of the standards we judge ourselves by were never created by us. They were absorbed, inherited, unquestioned, and yet we treat them as truth. Here's the reality. You do not need to be the best to begin. You only need to be brave enough to start. One of the strongest fuels of self-doubt is the fear of being judged. What if they laugh? What if they criticize? What if they don't support me? Let me tell you something freeing. People will judge you whether you try or not. If you chase your dream, they will talk. If you stay average, they will talk. If you fail, they will talk. If you succeed, they will talk even more. So if judgment is guaranteed, why not earn it by doing something meaningful? Do not shrink your dreams to fit inside someone else's comfort zone.
Your comfort zone feels safe. It feels predictable. It feels manageable. But it is also the birthplace of regret. Inside the comfort zone, nothing grows. No new skills, no new confidence, no new identity. Self-doubt thrives in comfort, because comfort avoids risk, and risk is required for growth. The first time you speak publicly, your voice may shake. The first time you start a business, you may feel lost. The first time you pursue something bigger, you may feel unqualified. That discomfort is not a sign to quit. It is proof that you are expanding. Many people doubt themselves because of their past. A failed exam, a failed relationship, a failed business, a failed attempt. But failure is an event. It is not a definition. Something. You are not a failure. If every mistake defined your destiny, no one would ever succeed. The most confident people you admire have failed more times than you know. The difference? They did not let failure decide their identity. They let it refine them. Here is a powerful truth. Confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build. Brick by brick. Action by action. Every time you do something uncomfortable, you lay a brick. Every time you show up despite fear, you lay another brick. Every time you try again after falling, you lay another brick. And one day, you look back and realize you built strength without even noticing. Confidence is a byproduct of courage. Comparison is self-doubt's best friend. You look at someone else's highlight reel and compare it to your behind the scenes. You see their success. You don't see their struggle. You see their achievement. You don't see their sleepless nights. You see their breakthrough. You don't see their breakdown. When you compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20, of course you will feel behind. But life is not synchronized. Everyone moves at a different pace. Stay in your lane. Water your own garden. Growth is personal. Self-doubt often says, hide. Hide your ideas, hide your talent, hide your ambition. Because hiding feels safe. But you were not born to hide. You were born to contribute. The world benefits when you show up. Your voice matters. Your ideas matter. Your story matters. One person is inspired by your courage. That impact is real. Do not underestimate your influence. There will be days when you feel confident. And there will be days when self-doubt screams. On those days, rely on discipline, not emotion. Emotion fluctuates. Commitment does not. When you don't feel good enough, work anyway. When you feel scared, prepare anyway. When you feel behind, progress anyway. You don't need motivation every day. You need consistency. Consistency weakens doubt. Your inner voice matters. If you constantly say, I can't, I'm bad at this, I always mess up, your brain believes it. Replace it with, I'm learning, I'm improving, I'm capable of growth. This is not false positivity. This is intentional self-leadership. You are the leader of your mind, and leaders do not allow destructive narratives. Need one giant success to eliminate self-doubt. You need small victories. Complete one task. Finish one workout. Make one call. Take one step. Each small win sends a message to your brain, I can. And the more evidence you collect, the quieter self-doubt becomes. Imagine a version of you who stopped doubting. What would they attempt? What risks would they take? What goals would they pursue? Now ask yourself, why are you not allowing that version to exist? The only thing separating you from that version is belief. And belief is a decision. Self-doubt will never disappear completely, but it should never be in control. You can feel unsure and still move forward. You can feel afraid and still act boldly. You can feel unready and still begin. Because action weakens doubt. Inaction feeds it. And the longer you wait, the louder it grows. Your dreams are fragile. They need protection. Not from the world, but from your own hesitation. Stop negotiating with fear. Stop asking for permission. Stop shrinking your potential. Stand up. Step forward. Move. Not when you feel perfect. Not when you feel ready. But now. Before self-doubt destroys what you were born to build. At some point in your life, you must decide who you are becoming. Because self-doubt is not just about ability, it is about identity. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will hesitate. If you see yourself as someone who tries but never wins, you will expect defeat. But if you begin to see yourself as someone who grows, someone who adapts, someone who refuses to quit, everything changes. Identity shapes behavior, behavior shapes results, and results reinforce identity. So the real question is not, can I do this? The real question is, who am I choosing to become? Here's something most people never admit. Sometimes, self-doubt isn't fear of failure, it's fear of success. Because success changes expectations. It raises standards. Responsibility. If you succeed, people will expect more from you. If you grow, you cannot go back to who you were. And growth is uncomfortable. So sometimes your mind creates doubt to protect you from expansion. But you are not created to stay small. You are created to evolve. When you start believing in yourself, not everyone will clap. Some will feel uncomfortable. Some will project their own insecurity. Some will say, "You've changed." And you know what? They're right. You have changed. Growth requires separation. You cannot rise while clinging to environments that reinforce your doubt. Protect your mindset. Protect your circle. Protect your vision. Not everyone deserves front row access to your dreams. There is power in simply showing up, even when you don't feel extraordinary, even when you feel average, even when you feel invisible. Show up anyway. Greatness is rarely explosive. It is repetitive. It is boring. It is daily. The athlete trains when no one watches. The writer writes when no one reads. The entrepreneur builds when no one believes. Show up. Again. And again. And again. Consistency crushes doubt. Self-doubt often spikes after emotional pain, rejection, criticism, loss, embarrassment. But emotional pain does not mean you are incapable. It means you are human. Resilience is not about avoiding pain. It is about responding to it. When something doesn't work, ask, "What can I learn?" When someone rejects you, ask, "Was it alignment or timing?" When you fail, ask, "What skill needs strengthening?" Turn emotion into education. You do not eliminate doubt by thinking differently. You eliminate doubt by doing differently. Take the class. Make the call. Post the content. Submit the application. Start the project. Action creates evidence. Evidence creates belief. Belief creates momentum. And momentum creates results. Self-doubt hates movement, because movement exposes its lies. Somewhere along the way, many people were taught to shrink their dreams. Be realistic. Don't aim too high. Be practical. But who decides what is realistic? Every achievement that exists today was once a dream someone worked toward. Unrealistic. Every invention, every breakthrough, every revolution, someone dared to believe. Why not you? Why not now? Your potential is not just a gift. It is a responsibility. To yourself, to your family, to the people who look up to you. When you allow self-doubt to control you, you are not just limiting your success. You are limiting your impact. There are people who need your story, people who need your example, people who need to see what courage looks like. Don't deprive them of that. Maybe you've doubted yourself for years. Maybe you've delayed your dreams. Maybe you've missed opportunities. Forgive yourself. Growth does not begin with guilt. It begins with awareness. The past version of you did the best they could with the mindset they had. But today, you know better. So today, you move differently. Everything changes with one decision. The decision to stop shrinking. The decision to stop apologizing for ambition. The decision to stop waiting for validation. The decision to move, even if your voice shakes. Your life does not change when you feel ready. It changes when you decide. Imagine the future version of you. Stronger, wiser, more confident. That version exists, but it depends on today's choices. Will you surrender to doubt, or will you fight for your dreams? Future you is watching. Make them proud. Self-doubt will visit you, but it doesn't get to live with you. It can knock, but it cannot stay. You are not your fear. You are not your hesitation. You are not your past mistakes. You are potential in motion. You are resilience in progress. Development. Stand up. Speak up. Start now. Because if you don't protect your dreams, self-doubt will slowly destroy them. And the world will never see what you are truly capable of. Every person lives inside a story. Not the story the world sees, but the story they tell themselves. I'm bad at speaking. I've never been lucky. I'm not leadership material. I always mess things up. And here's the danger. The brain believes repetition. If you repeat a limitation long enough, it becomes identity. But what if the story is wrong? What if the reason you failed before was not lack of ability, but lack of belief? What if the only thing standing between you and your next level is the narrative you refuse to rewrite? You are not stuck because of your circumstances. You are stuck because of your conclusions. Change the conclusion. Change the direction. The first speech feels terrifying. The first investment feels risky. The first public attempt feels exposing. But every master was once a beginner who felt unsure. The difference? They did not let discomfort decide their destiny. Self-doubt screams loudest at the starting line, because beginnings are vulnerable. But nothing extraordinary happens inside hesitation. You cannot edit a life you never start. There may come a season where no one understands your vision. No applause, no encouragement, no validation. Only silence. That is the season that separates dreamers from achievers, because belief is tested in isolation. If you only move when supported, you will stop when alone. Build internal conviction, not borrowed confidence. When you believe deeply enough, external doubt loses power. Courage is like a muscle. If you never use it, it weakens. If you challenge it, it strengthens. Each bold decision builds resilience. Each uncomfortable action builds confidence. Each moment you override fear rewires your brain. Self-doubt shrinks when courage expands. You don't wake up fearless. You train yourself fearless. Some people say, I'll start when I'm more confident. But confidence comes after action, not before. If you wait to feel ready, you may wait forever. Perfection is a myth. Readiness is an illusion. Momentum is real, and momentum starts with motion. Even imperfect motion. There are two types of pain in life, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Regret hurts forever. The pain of trying and struggling is temporary. The pain of wondering what if is permanent. Choose your pain wisely. Every morning you wake up to an internal battle. One voice says, go for it. The other says, stay safe. The one that wins is the one you feed. Feed courage with action. Feed belief with evidence. Feed discipline with routine. Starve self-doubt by ignoring its commands. You don't become unstoppable because doubt disappears. You become unstoppable because doubt loses authority. Imagine waking up and deciding, I will not let fear make decisions for me anymore. That decision changes posture, energy, presence. When you move like someone who believes in themselves, the world responds differently. Opportunities respond differently. People respond differently. Life responds differently. Self-doubt becomes habit. But habits can be broken. Today, interrupt it. When your mind says, you can't, respond, watch me. When your mind says, you're not ready, respond, I'll grow into it. When your mind says, you might fail, respond, I might succeed. Shift the pattern, shift the power. Your environment shapes your confidence. Negative conversations, constant comparison, toxic criticism. All of it feeds doubt. Choose what you consume. Choose who you listen to. Choose what you watch. Protect your mind like your dreams depend on it. Because they do. One day, life will ask you, did you try? Not were you perfect. Fearless, but did you try? When that day comes, let your answer be strong. Let it be bold. Let it be honest. Yes, yes, I tried. Yes, I risked. Yes, I showed up. Yes, I fought my doubt. Yes, I chased what scared me. Yes, I honored my potential. Because in the end, dreams don't die from impossibility. They die from hesitation. Stand up inside yourself. Take ownership of your potential. Silence the voice that shrinks you. Rise above the version of you that plays small. Move before you feel ready. Act before you feel confident. Build before you feel certain. Because self-doubt is patient, but dreams are fragile. And if you don't guard them, no one else will. Stop self-doubt before it destroys your dreams. Start now. Imagine a 70-year-old version of yourself. Gray hair, slower steps, quiet evenings, sitting alone with memories. Now imagine that older version looking at you right now and asking one question, why didn't you try? Not angrily, not harshly, just softly, with regret. Because that older version knows something you don't. Time moves faster than you think. Opportunities don't repeat forever. Energy doesn't stay unlimited. Self-doubt steals years quietly. You don't notice it at first. You just postpone, then delay, then hesitate, then avoid. And suddenly, decades pass. The dream fades. Not because it was impossible, but because you kept waiting to feel ready. Let me tell you something. Uncomfortable. One day your life will end. And at that moment, two things will exist. The life you lived, and the life you could have lived. Self-doubt is the silent killer of the second one. It doesn't attack loudly. It whispers. You're not ready. You'll embarrass yourself. What will people think? Maybe later. And slowly, the version of you that could have changed the world dies quietly. Buried under hesitation. Buried under fear. Buried under overthinking. Don't let your potential attend its own funeral. Self-doubt is a prison with invisible walls. From outside, people see potential, talent, capability. But inside, you feel fear, uncertainty, smallness. The key to that prison? Action. Not perfection, not confidence. Action. The moment you move despite fear, the bars weaken. The moment you speak despite shaking, the walls crack. The moment you try despite uncertainty, the door opens. Freedom doesn't come from feeling ready. Freedom comes from deciding. There is always a moment, a small moment, where you decide, enough. Enough doubting, enough shrinking, enough waiting. That decision might not look dramatic. No fireworks, no applause. But internally, it's a revolution. Because the biggest shift in life is not external success. Permission. The day you give yourself permission to believe is the day everything begins. From this moment forward, you are no longer someone who waits for confidence. You are someone who builds it. You are no longer someone who fears failure. You are someone who learns fast. You are no longer someone controlled by doubt. You are someone who challenges it. Identity changes behavior. Behavior changes results. Results change life. But it starts with who you decide to be. And it will. Fear will visit again. Before big steps. Before big risks. Before big growth. But now you recognize it. You don't panic. You don't retreat. You smile. Because fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal. It means growth is near. It means expansion is near. It means transformation is close. Right now, make a silent promise. Not to me, not to the